You
Yes.
hear me? Good.
Yes, I hear you very well. How are you?
What are we doing, man? This is it.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're,
I'm learning how we live like this.
you're still locked down, basically.
Yeah, we're still, I'm in East Hampton, so it's not so locked down. I go to the
Yeah.
beach every day.
You were all the time in the Hamptons now.
No, I came here. The city was horrific, so I left the city in March.
Okay.
And I came here and, I still have my studio. You've been to my studio. I still have my studio in the city. But so I have a studio here too, so I can work here.
So it's definitely better in Long Island than it's in New York.
Yeah, much better. I mean, I could go shopping. I could walk on the beach. I could, you still don't see people much. You see them on the beach, just say hello. And it's summer. I'd be here pretty much anyway. Well, in another 2 weeks anyway, but but I've been here enjoying spring as I've never seen it.
So how do you feel about this time?
Well, it's what it is. I'm of a certain age where I had to really pay attention. I mean, I was in Mexico, came back from a vacation, and then the day I landed, the whole thing just changed.
You were lucky not to being blocked in Mexico.
No, it was the beginning. It was March 10th. So
but there was a certain risk. I mean, if you would have stayed there.
Yeah, no, I was just on a vacation.
Okay.
I was due back. I was gonna, I was due back. I was gonna finish teaching. My students were graduating. So then we had to go into Zoom. And so the class graduated in Zoom.
How was that going? How was that going, graduating in Zoom? How was that?
Well, they finished their works. They showed their work online. They had to make a book. They made their books online. But the books are all done that way anyway. So I mean, and we had a discussion. It was a thesis class. It was their thesis. So all that.
So it's what's a thesis class? That's master?
Photo thesis, yeah. The photo thesis, it was their last,
the last level.
For the last level in BFA, so they can graduate before they, decide what they're doing, get their bachelor's degree.
You are teaching photography there?
Yeah.
Just photography, not painting, not drawing?
Well, but my class attracts people who do, who want to it's not just photography and video. They want, they want to go into a more fine art version of it. And so that's how it all comes about. So I get someone who draws, I get someone, somebody who makes videos, it moves around. It's absolutely fun. It gets to be good.
Fun? You mean
Well, because I think I learned something. I mean, you get a group of students, you work with them for one whole year, you get to see their work develop, you get to hear the criticisms they talk about other people's work and how they move on. And to me, I learned something, and if I learned something, that's fun to me.
Listen, we made a book together.
Yes, we did.
Put the camera slightly different. You have it there. It's called Billy Sullivan Still Looking, Works 1969 and 2016. I just want to read a small passage from this text by Linda Jablonski.
Okay.
What is in the book? It's party scenes, bar scenes, fashion scenes, beach scenes, and scenes in the streets. Billy's been on them for 50 years, mixing with his subjects, people on the make, for epiphanies as well as each other. There are artists and writers, models and designers, gender fluid beauties, and extravagant queens. Sorry, I have something here. I'm sorry, what's that? Extravagant queens, exhibitionists and loners, lovers and brothers, dogs and family, and most of all, friends. So it's a book on people. How would you describe this universe, which in this book starts with the year 1969? It's like a friends and people universe around yourself.
Well, 1969, I graduated school in about 68. I was in New York City, finding my way in 69. I had a camera, and it was just finding my place. I mean, like, okay, over the two girls when I was in London doing Pork, the play Pork. I did the sets for an Andy Warhol play named Pork. The other person is sitting in my downstairs, I guess, kitchen living room on 87th Street, Stephen Mueller. He became a really famous painter, abstract painter.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl was named Vi. And
maybe I show also page 1.
And there's Jackie Curtis and I later found out we were in the same high school class in New York City at the School of Art and Design. I later met her around the factory, or him. He went back and forth in time. And
can maybe
he's also in my studio. And that's a drawing from the night when I was taking those pictures of Jackie. And and later I also found out that, I was married to Amy Sullivan at the time, or Amy Goodman, who became Amy Sullivan. And I also found images, I don't know if it's in the book or not, later on, where we had Jackie out in East Hampton on a lawn. I mean, a beautiful image. I don't know. That's Celia Cruz.
You know who she is? I would shortly recite this one verse of Lou Reed's song, Take a Walk on the Wild Side.
Yes.
Jackie is speeding away, thought she was James Dean for a day. Then I guess she had to crash. Valium would have helped that bash. She said, hey babe, take a walk on the wild side. So that's Jackie Curtis.
That's Jackie. And there was the James Dean period where he had his hair cut short and he wore a denim jacket. And
so then let's go on.
Okay, so the girl with the pink background is Kelty Farris, another young famous abstract painter. We were in the group show at Andover, which is like a fancy school in New England, and on the other side is one of my muses, Ed O'Toole was his name then, the boy in the jockstrap. And the other two people are from Detroit. When I was having a show in Detroit, we're just sitting around having dinner. And she was the gallerist, the young gallerist at the time, and that was her boyfriend, later on her husband. So basically the work is diaristic. I mean, I was hanging a show at Andover. Kelty was talking to me in my room, and you know, that's where that drawing came from. Of
I have to say
that.
the book is a mix of photography and drawing and painting. Has
Yeah.
painting.
Excuse me?
I said the book is a mix. That's why I showed this first picture of Jackie Curtis of photography. So sometimes you did first a drawing, first a photography. It changed, right?
All the work comes from my photography. And my photography is like my sketchbook. My camera was my sketchbook, and then you know the next day or 2 days later, or in those days it was a week later, or when I was or when I was just beginning, it could have been 3 weeks later because you couldn't always get the film processed. You couldn't then you had to remember to go pick it up. I mean, this is all before digital, and then I would go back and look at things and think about the night when I was out, like, the girl Vi over here, the one lying on the rug is like, we're on Quaaludes in London. And so,
sometimes
that's what that was about. And the other picture was me on my honeymoon with my first,
which one was you on your honeymoon?
The picture over here, that's me, and I'm in Brazil, in Bahia. And so I went with Klaus Curtis. It was like first time we went away together. I was leaving a marriage, and I was on a month trip to Brazil because I wanted to see Carnival and do all that. Ran away from a family, the whole beautiful shit. And here, okay, then we got Jackie again. Mm-hmm. And then there's that other picture is she hung around the studio. Elaine Grismaldi was her name, and a typical afternoon drinking beer, or it could be an evening, the way that looks. And then there's Jackie, and the picture next to Jackie is, this is where I'm in London. I did the sets at the Roundhouse for the play Pork. That's Wayne County, then Jane County. Later on in life, she became Jane County, and she was playing Viva in the play Pork.
Okay.
And pretty boy's ass. There's I also got to hang out with like Naomi Sims, who was then married to one of my oldest friends, Michael Finley. And she came over to my house, and she was in Halston. Her lobes were painted silver. This was a normal evening for her. She was just like so decked out. The most amazing model, an incredible woman, the first really famous Black model, I would think. Oh, and the next is just a still life I did out here one summer. Flowers.
There are many still lives and dogs and
there are still,
but that's later.
Yeah, well, still lives are like portraits because sometimes it takes place in people's houses that I'm at, and it reminds me of the person, and there's always a dog in my life, and there's always dogs around. I love dogs. I love animals.
You have a dog now?
Yeah, his name is Red. We'll come to him. He's in there.
What's his name? Red?
Red. He's a black dog, and his name is Red.
Nice. Who is?
Yes, this is okay. So this is Jane Forth, and I guess this is 68 or 69 or something. I mean, the photographs were taken then, and it was my first trip out to East Hampton. I was going to share a house with this friend of mine, Mark Saunders, and she was in the front seat. I was in the back of the convertible, and we got these pictures going out. you know, in an early, you know, late May weekend. And the other pictures, that's in Paris, that's Delia and Amy. It was around Kenzo. It all looked so glamorous, but it just was like normal stuff. And then, oh yeah, and that's, you know, a lobster dinner out here. And that's Klaus's hands. And there's the photograph okay, there's the photograph, there's the drawing.
That's Klaus Curtis cooking here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's Klaus. And there's Jane Forth in one of my bathrooms putting on makeup. You know, I love that juxtaposition in here. So if you can see from the drawing, he's made a lot of lobsters because he's got a different sweater on in the drawing than in the in the photograph.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, the lobster's cooked.
You cook too, or did he do cooking?
He did most of the cooking. Yeah, I can cook too, but he loved it, so I just had to hang out. Oh, and okay. So now we're on 87th Street. That was my wife, Amy. And behind her, my God. And there's Jane Forth on the other two images of Jane.
Mm-hmm. What's behind her? You talked about this here?
Yeah, this picture, oh God. She died in a 9/11 plane crash. Oh God, what the hell's that? Her name will come to me, but it's not visible.
She died.
That's Amy. No, that's my ex-wife, Amy
That's
Sullivan.
your wife, right? But who died in the plane crash?
God, it will. I'm blocking it, but that's her, the blonde lady. It will come to me, Patrick. I'll fill you in on that.
You mean I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Berenson, not Marissa, the other sister, the Berenson.
Marissa Berenson.
Yeah. She was a photographer. She married an American actor.
And she was in the plane.
Huh? She was in the plane from Boston.
Oh, she was
flying. Yeah. From Boston. Okay, now we have.
Who is that?
That's Michelle Long, and that's the first night those Stephen Sprouse outfits came out at Limelight. So they were modeling the new Stephen Sprouse, was like this crazy designer. And it was just, you know, and she was holding one of those Barbie dolls.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Which year was that?
Oh Christ, I don't know.
No.
It says
maybe it's here.
I lived it. It doesn't say. Oh, it does say it there.
Oh yeah, it's 83.
Yeah, 83.
Terry Toy. And that's Jane pregnant, 71.
Yeah, that's Jane pregnant for her first child, and the child will appear later on in paintings. Yeah, same bathroom. That's my son Max, finger painting on the deck, and there's that person we saw earlier, Stephen Mueller. I guess he was painting on the deck too.
He was,
and then
the man sitting.
The man behind Max is Stephen Mueller. He's an abstract painter. He died, but just of natural causes.
What is your son Max doing now?
Oh, he's not on the earth anymore. He died in a paragliding accident in Aspen.
Oh, sad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. My other son, I was watching him surf yesterday. He was doing really well.
How old is your other son?
40, well, he was just 46 on the 19th.
Still surfing?
Oh yeah. Well, he was out, he was out visiting his parents, but because one lives in Sagaponack and I live here. Yeah.
And what is he doing in life, your other son?
Oh, well, he sells real estate when you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he has nothing to do
No,
with
he had,
art.
well, he's a collector and he appreciates it, and he's a good critic of my work. The other side.
Okay.
And there's Jane Forth again for that car ride, and that image of me and Amy is from a photograph taken by Linda McCartney, or her name was Linda Eastman then, and so I appropriated her photograph and made a drawing out of that.
Okay.
It's a funny thing to remember. And here we are again, and so that's there's a painting there from that night of the Stephen Sprouse clothes from the Limelight that we saw earlier, and then and that's Chichi Valente. I guess she was a bartender at the Limelight. And I don't know where we are, so I can give you dates, because the beautiful thing about the book is, Patrick, is you have dates under every image.
It's 82, Shishi.
1982.
1982.
Yeah, and the other thing, the book doesn't run in sequence of years, so it moves around, which is
Yeah.
also really good, because
No,
it's
the
like my
purpose,
brother.
the purpose was to combine photography and painting in a way
Yeah.
that it's rarely done. Because the book,
Yeah, no, it's totally brilliant. And Marietta, when she came to America, she totally understood everything that I was thinking and moved so well with me and organized this thing. I could totally relax and not be defensive when she suggested something. I mean, girl knew what she was doing.
you're talking about Marietta Oyster, who did the design.
Yes, of course I am.
She was
Yeah.
coming over to you and working together in New York.
Yeah, she came and worked with me. We spent over 2 weeks or a week and a half in the studio putting this together. And I've never been happier working with anybody.
Which is totally brilliant, is that you start to forget what media the images are made of. You start to forget it's photography or it's pastel or it's.
Yeah, she understood absolutely every aspect of it. She understood what I was about, how my mind jumped around, and that's how it came. And now we're at Kinniston McShine, who was a curator at Lodge at MoMA, and I was visiting him. He was in Springs that summer on his deck, and that's Clarissa Dalrymple, a great artisan. And we're at Jack Pearson's in the desert, the woman with the parasol.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having a show in LA, and then we went out to the desert to hang out. And then the Klaus and I in Vietnam, that's Klaus, I don't know, just the back of Klaus.
So that's.
Yeah. Just we were coming from Angkor Wat or something.
Cocoa,
yeah.
Cocoa Beach.
Cocoa Beach or something, yeah.
That's in Vietnam.
In Vietnam, yeah. And that's Nico.
Nico,
yeah.
2009, and that was 2013, 2003.
Yeah.
What was your relation to Vietnam?
It was on the way back from Angkor Wat, and it was a place to just rest and go to a beach,
And at the time,
I love being in Vietnam. It was really fun.
And
excuse me?
What about the 60s when Vietnam was a war? What was your?
Well, I was a protester, so I got arrested. I was going around the world. I was marrying Amy Sullivan. I was going around the world, and that was my first trip to Angkor Wat, and the plane landed I guess in Vietnam, and I had long hair, and they deported me the minute I landed. That was my other experience in Vietnam, in Saigon, when the war was on. And my mother-in-law at the time told me, she said to travel with a scissor so I could cut my hair, and I refused to do it. So the next thing, we were on a plane, and we were and I was in Hong Kong. That was it. Never got there. So that was my way back, and it was many years later. That's my Vietnam story. That's Cecily Brown. Cecily Brown and I did a film for a filmmaker named Bert Barr, and that's on the film set in Southampton. She's a famous painter. And so there's my son Sam in a kayak in the ocean a long time ago. Yeah. And which I was just watching him do again yesterday. And there's Jane Forth at the beach, and some young girl, one of Clarissa Dalrymple's grandchildren. And there's Bryce Martin and Klaus and Idra. Klaus Curtis was writing a book about him at the time, so we were on a boat, and Bryce Martin's drawing on the boat. And that's my buddy Stephen Mueller and his partner at the time, Frank Lascalzo, at a beach in Southampton. Lots of summer images.
It looks like a never-ending holiday.
Summer, yeah, and I'm still living it.
Many people.
Yeah. Okay. So this is that's Jane Forth. There's her son Emerson, and that's my son Max that he's kind of putting sand on. He's in both pictures. Max is lying on the ground underneath the other boy. And then my newborn is Sam is in this green bat. You can't see what he is because he's in this thing. He was this is the 4th of July weekend. I had my kids on the beach. And then this is my son Max skimming along the shore on a skim board. Yeah. And that's my son Sam a little later with Amy. I was playing a game with him and I tied him up so he couldn't get to the pistachio nuts, and his mother's sunbathing. And my kids brushing their teeth.
That's a nice picture.
Wow. And
that is 76.
Yeah. And there's my son Sam playing with Star Wars figures on the bay. And there's my son Max, my son Sam, and there. I love that drawing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's a Star Wars figure.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally in his own head on the beach, playing with the figures. It's so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And
did you
here? Okay, so this is funny. So this is Ado. He took this. We were in a rental house, and he took the mirror off the medicine cabinet because towards the end of the day he was going to take pictures of my boys, which were beautiful shots. And the kid standing with half his head is my son Max, who died in the paragliding accident. This painting was after the paragliding accident. And so I never even thought about it when I was making the painting. And that's my son Sam is looking at his own image in the mirror. So I never thought about the fact that I cut off his head. But
death.
But I love that painting.
Death is very present in this book because many people are dead.
Yeah. And it's like it's subconscious, it's some conscious thing. Okay, and here we go. And so there's Max before, that's just before he He had the accident, the paragliding accident with his new puppy.
Ah, in
In
this
my
guy.
house, yeah, that guy. And you know, that's one of the last drawings I did of him, I think, from that period. And there's my son Sam at the beach. Oh my God. And there's my son Max in Mexico with some, you know, musicians behind him with his, he was
That's your
an
son.
avid surfer at a very young age and a daredevil always. And, you know, the hat is a brand of surf gear that he was picking up on 11 years old, you know, but that's what kids do. There's a bunch of, that's Amy, Ado, and Mary Paul. Mary Paul, another famous photographer, in a little boat on the ocean. And the next image is of my son Max peeing, and my son Sam looking at him not so happily. And there's Irie, who's a clothing designer in Paris. I guess we're in Bridgehampton at something or other. And there's the photograph from the, oh, so it was cut off in the photograph way before. There's a photograph of my son Max, Sam and Ado on the beach. And the next, so now I'm moving Ed O'Toole in with an earlier image of, you know, so Ed O'Toole's like in the 80s and Serp is late 70s, and I put them both together to make this double image.
Serpa is dead, right?
Yeah, she died of she died of the virus, and she was a musa Kenzo, and yeah, and she was also a film star in Paris, and she was also and Kenzo's business manager at the time was Gio Rice, who was my best friend, and these images are from that period.
What about this virus and this virus now? Would you,
Well, the thing about
were you reminded?
Well, yeah, I was so much younger with the difference in the virus, and it was a secret, and people who got it didn't talk about it, and they didn't know where they got it. It was so horrible, and people were just dying, and then there was something about taking drugs or being gay, and all that, and that time period, all that stuff was wrong. I mean, you know, you were, first of all, you were sick. You weren't comfortable about how you got. It was just horrible. I mean, it eventually became clear that it was a disease, and that people weren't wrong who got it. But the government is treating this virus the same way they treated that virus, except that everyone is vulnerable. That's the only difference when you think about it, is like they're vulnerable, and, you know, the head of my government's like this idiot. And, you know, and your country did well, you know, it's just.
We did so better than many other countries, but I mean, it was not.
Well, we're not anywhere near anywhere with this. We got to live like this for a long time now.
Yeah, it's dreadful. It's like you can say in all those countries where those populist leaders are governing for the moment, they're all politicized, the virus.
It's all, you know, they just deny it, and they just want to keep the economy going. Mm. So the difference was age, is that it targeted two groups of people. young gay people and people who took drugs and people who were having sex. And
Yeah,
so
and
then they could
but
quelch it into some religious nonsense and pretend it didn't exist. But this just devastated, like my city was devastated.
yeah,
And
you
then we had
I mean,
that, and then we had, you know, these horrible killings of, you know, of black people, and then, you know, rioting again, and then nothing ever comes to a conclusion. All this stuff just keeps happening around us.
you think
You know?
it's going to be better now with this
I would hope that
new
it could
new
be.
movement now? Does it get better?
I mean, I'm always hopeful. I mean, the police have to come about a different way of policing. You know, they're fearful, and I mean, and they're aggressive and they're horrible. And it's something, you know, if you're not black, you can't
You don't know
totally
it.
understand it. I mean, you know, you walk outside, you can just disappear. They walk outside, they're parent. Yeah. So there's so hopefully that we'll start to understand, you know, how all this goes on now, and not how all this goes on, but how to understand how these people have been pushed down for centuries because of the color of their skin and white people's fear of them.
But it's like a never-ending story, right? I mean, if you look at it from here, you think, well, something should be done about the foundations of this kind of systemic racism, you know, because otherwise, I don't see how it will end.
Well, we see some, you know, we can see other countries who deal with it better than my country. I mean, in my country, it was just accepted, and now they're talking about getting rid of, you know, the Southern statues and all that stuff, which, you know, things have to be done, but, you know, history has to be, you know, people
Well,
have to become equal. We have to become equal. And the whole thing, even with this virus, is that the people that it devastated mostly were people who couldn't just leave town like I could, you know, who had to stay in close quarters and be close to each other.
yeah, it brutally showed the differences, right? It brutally showed everything like injustice, systemic injustices, and discrimination.
It
Showed
brought
it.
things, yeah, but, you know, will we have equal education? Will we allow, will people get doctors? You know, this is something to still figure out. I mean, I got an education, but, you know, if you're poor and you're black, you're not capable of getting an education besides the streets. I mean, it's horrific. Or, you know, and that's the neighborhoods that were most affected in New York City. I mean, it hit everywhere, but that's basically where it is. And people who went out, who had to make money every day.
You have the feeling that you, as a white artist, that you can do something about it. What can you do? You, for instance.
Me personally, well, I'm voting for change, and I'm supporting, I'm reforming the police. But I've always been about that. I mean, I protested against the war. I mean, I protested. You know, what we learned as long as we live in this country is that everything you think you get, you don't always have. They're still trying to, say abortion is illegal. You know, there's every step you get for equal rights or equal freedom is they're always trying to take it away again and just keep the money at one level and not bring things down. We don't have health care for everybody. You know, the closest we came is Obamacare, and they want to get rid of that. You know, it's a constant fight.
Do you think that really the Supreme Court will take back the abortion law?
Well, that's the whole thing about the game of the two parties is they were surprised about the DACA thing because they thought they had it solved when and then one of them went against
But now the
the
DACA thing is okay, right?
for the
So they
moment.
can't,
That's just for the moment.
they can't,
They can bring it up again, and it will happen again.
up again
And
at the Supreme Court.
yeah, there will be something else. I mean, this part's, but it's not a done deal. It's the same word. That's why they're fighting Roe versus Wade, because they keep bringing things back up. And so it's just
it's actually also a crisis of the two-party system, right?
yeah.
Of this also so binary, you know, like it's black and white. It's always
Yeah,
like
and one party
they do it all bad. The next party.
Yeah, one party controls everything, and
Yeah, and they're
just
taking
keeps
everything back from the other
through.
party.
I mean, when we had Obama and they didn't let him put that justice in, they said, no, you can't do it. We have to. No one fought it. They agreed with it. But the Republicans would never do that. You know, they just would just do it and have it happen.
But
You
still,
know,
it was.
they're taking democracy away constantly. And this big buffoon who everyone, it's just this media circus, and everyone just keeps looking, and he says all these things that were never allowed to be said or no one would ever even think to say.
It's like a really bad show, right?
Oh, it's hideous. It's
a really bad show. But
it's so.
Still, it's astonishing that the Supreme Court took back this DACA regulation and the discrimination regulation against
but the thing,
LGBTQ people.
but because it was somebody who believed in the law. Now, the one Kavanaugh, the one that just came in, will not do that. No. He will go party. But this one is a judge who believes in his version of what the law is, which is what we think it should be.
But actually, it's you have to trust in certain people in America.
Yeah.
You have to, especially into the president. But I mean, also this one judge. You know, is he good? Is he not good? So it's all depending on this one judge, which is it's ridiculous. I think the system is not holding up. You know, it's all too much decision with.
No. We have
people.
to understand that you know, the police have to be reckoned with. They have to, you know, they have their unions and they have those hardcore frightened people. You know, I'm half Irish. I understand where those people are coming from, you know.
You mean
they
the
were
police?
the police?
The police?
The police. Yeah. They were, you know, they were the Irish immigrants who were looked down upon by the Protestants who were here before them, and then the Italian. You know, it's just this shit.
Gangs of New York.
You know,
this series.
But it's the real thing. You know,
amazing.
But I think there's a point where we can start respecting each other and come around and figure this out.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Well, we have no choice.
Huh? Yeah. We are already 40 minutes of our time. Let's go through some pictures and then let's call it a day. It's great talking to you.
All right. So, so you opened up to a great page because that's Linda Yablonsky who wrote the article right here. Okay. And here she's with Pat Place, who was her then girlfriend, who's a famous rock and roll sort of underground star, Bush Tetras. And
this? Yeah,
this is a funny picture. So I did this fashion shoot for a English magazine, Face or something. And what we were doing is, so there's, and the portrait is of this guy, Louis Chabon, who's through my work, you know, has been a muse of mine from the beginning till today. And so this fashion shoot was supposedly around when Louis was a young guy, and that's Agnes Den. And then she had a boyfriend then who we sort of dressed up like for the fashion shoot, like sort of like Louis with makeup, but it was, I don't know, that's somebody else who did the styling on that. And oh, there's the photograph of Louis at his birthday at Delia Doherty's loft on 14th Street. And there's the drawing of Linda and Pat Place taken in their downtown, I guess, walk up, you know, like where you'd go, you know, late afternoon and kind of buy some stuff. And before everyone became legal. And then, okay, that's Gary, Indiana.
Do you still see many people in your life?
Well, I speak to Gary, Indiana, like once or, you know, like 4 or 5 times a year. And that's Sharon Nesp, who was Cookie Mueller's girlfriend for a long time, who was a big historical figure in P-Town in New York, was an underground star. And she worked in plays that Gary, Indiana wrote, and she did other things. And she's still, you know, I owe her a call. She's not doing much. She's very, you know, we're getting old, you know. But and so this is my Italian dealers used to stay in my loft, and those shoes are when she would come to town for art fairs, and she'd have all the stuff in my bed, and she would use the bedroom, and that's just you know, a big old drawing of flowers and the floor, the loft in the city on a rug. And there's more. So now we're going into, I guess, still lives. And there's a still life out here, 2 still lives out here, and
beautiful
a drawing of, yeah. And there's
Mm-hmm.
more still lives. The Gaddafi book from when I was, okay, so the Gaddafi still life is from when I was in Idro and Klaus was doing the book. We were in an upper house of the Martins, and that was, you know, in the room, you know, with the flowers, and that's East Hampton, and that's the Mary Highland Bowl, and it's like that.
Book
That's an Idro, but
was 19. So that's 1991 to 2000.
Yeah, that's probably right. That's probably, so the book probably came out about then, and that you saw the earlier photograph of Klaus and him on the boat, but that's the drawing from there.
So that's flower.
And here we have a picture of Klaus in the garden over here, and they're just more still lives. And that girl is.
Let's go.
Her name is. Let's move on.
Move to the dogs. Wait.
Yeah, here we are with dogs.
We go to the dogs. So to end.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right, so
cats and dogs.
That's one of my dogs, and one of my ex-wife's dogs. That dog was called Dave, and her dog was I don't remember.
What dogs were they?
The black. I had French bulldogs for a while. Now I have real dogs, just old mugs.
That's a French bulldog.
The French bulldog.
And she.
And that was a Westie, not a Westie.
West Highland Terrier.
Highland Terrier. Yeah, my other son had Westies, and that's my other dog, Ralph. And then that's a drawing of Michelle Long. That's a beautiful picture. That's Michelle Long with her poodle. And Michelle Long was the first trans person I knew, and that was thousands of years ago. Yeah.
That is 1978.
Yeah.
Does she's still
No,
alive?
she's gone. She OD'd.
Sorry?
She's gone. She OD'd. She was a beauty. All right. So now I'm where you are.
I guess in the 70s, being a trans was quite different, no? Like
Well,
today.
yeah. Also, I mean, she couldn't. Oh, this is great, because over here is Nada, that's the white dog is Nada, who's Louis Chabon's dog. Louis is the guy that appears in lots of images.
Yes.
That's his dog. There's a still life, and then there's Casper and Pollock. There's a little dog at the edge of it. I know that's a
Oh yeah,
portrait of a
small dog.
friend of mine. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, again, like being a trans person, 1978, I guess was quite
It
different.
was it was it was a glamorous thing. Yeah, and oh God, where are we?
That's
That's oh okay.
236.
Gracie, 2013. That was a small painting I made for somebody that they could travel with after their pet had passed the earth.
Oh,
And then
that's
I made wallpaper of Missy, and then I made a painting of Missy and put it on the wallpaper.
yeah.
Reference to Andy Warhol. And then the next page is the dog that's still here now, and that's 2013. That's Red.
He's still alive.
Yeah, he's
That's
lying
right.
down in the
That's
red.
right.
And he's still running at with a ball in his mouth now, but that's not a ball, it's a tongue. He's still running on the beach.
It's called Red on the Run.
Yeah. And that's Clarissa Dalrymple. And then we go really back in time, and we have Delia Doherty. And then
Delia Doherty, who is she?
she was a clothing designer who made incredible clothes that was she was sort of backed by Dia for a while, the Dia Foundation, and now she lives in Los Angeles, and she's a Jungian therapist.
Okay, still working.
And she's moved on. The next page is really funny too. The next page we have Suzanne Hilberry, who is this great gallerist from Detroit, Michigan. She was the center of Detroit. She was the most elegant woman ever. She passed like 2 years ago. And then those are Polaroids of Andy out in East Hampton. He rented a house. That's after he got shot.
That's in his house?
Well, a rental.
What?
And in one of the Polaroids, I'm in the background, you see. But anyway, but that doesn't matter.
Who is that in the background?
Me in the shorts and the black.
Okay.
Yeah.
This figure here.
Yeah. And both pictures. So these were taken by my wife at the time.
But he was well again. He was shot, and that was how much?
Well, he wasn't really well again. You could, if you look close, you can see he's all bandaged up under that Denoya shirt.
Oh.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
He still has a sort of elastic bandage.
Yeah, like a big round.
Keep back the muscles. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was 71.
Yeah.
Was he shot in 71? Andy?
Yeah.
What? He was shot in 71. Okay.
I think, or before that. Yeah, I got to look it up. But that was.
Who is he?
This is Robert Holmes, another painter. He's a painter out here.
Beautiful painting.
Yeah, thank you.
So, listen, we go to the end of the book. We show the last two. Oh yeah, that's a nice double spread. With this, we will end. Hmm.
Oh, there's okay. So the photograph one is Michelle Long.
Yes.
The one in the taxi at night or in the car or wherever we were, and the other one is Chrissy Isles, who was nice enough to put me in a Whitney biennial, and we're coming down from some function uptown together in a car after that, way after that, and
That's beautiful.
thank you. Patrick, it's so good to see you again. I love
Oh,
when I have
that
my
was
studio.
that was your book, Billy Sullivan Works, 1969 to 2016. Still looking. Great pleasure to do.
I had so much fun doing it, and I want to
And
thank you for letting me do it. And
yeah,
and
thank you.
everyone who John Claude. I mean, that was a great time.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that you have that.
So it was fun talking to you, and wish you all the best.
Same here.
Stay safe and
Love to see you at some point again, Patrick.
bye.
Still working. You're still working. We're still here.
Yes, I hope so.
Yes.
So, see you. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. I hope we get something good out of this.
Yes,
Bye.
we do. Bye bye.
Okay.
See you.
Bye. Bye.